Hey guys! Anyway, I'm so sorry. It's raining, but you know what? I felt like I haven't done an episode for a while. So I was like, whether it rains, whether it storms, whether I get sick, I'm going to do this one. So I'm so sorry. In the background, you're going to hear um, rain noise. Like right now, I'm moving the microphone, so it's probably going to be noisy as well, but I'm so sorry. I apologize. Anywho, let's get into it. Welcome back to With an Accent podcast by Diesel, yours truly. Anyway, it's been a while and I have so many reasons for delaying to bring back an episode to you guys. But one of the reasons is that I wanted to do videos. I wanted to make podcast videos for YouTube. And if you're watching this is the first podcast ever on YouTube. And if you're listening to me like usual and one of my fans or one of my listeners, let me not get too comfortable. I appreciate you being here and giving me your time. And without further ado, let's get into it. This podcast is about how I have changed since I moved abroad. I prepared some questions to guide me and so that I stay on I don't spiral because I tend to talk about one thing and I get into another thing because. So, first question to get to know me a little bit better, I guess. Why did I leave Rwanda? For me, it was more of a professional growth decision because I was working in an NGO as a communications and guest relations officer, and most of the times I would see people who have the same title as me, who are officers, but who's been working in that position for 20, 30 years, for the whole duration of the NGO, like for the whole time that the NGO has been in Rwanda. And I could see that they haven't grown. And for me also, I could not see, like, the person above me didn't plan to leave their position. And I was thinking, okay, if I work and get better at my job, do I see room for me to grow? And the salary that I was earning, which was 300 euros or $300 approximately, I couldn't see how I'm going to live on that for a long time. I had a son while working there, and at that time he was 2. He was about to go to nursery school, and only the cost of the school fees was my salary per month. And I imagine that I have to pay rent, to pay the bills, to pay my housekeeper who gets to keep my son, and I didn't see how that is going to go on for a long time. The only thing I could feel is that I'm going to get sucked in by debts to try to try to cover every bill that I had to pay. So that was one of the reasons that I had to leave. And the second reason, or the biggest reason, is that I needed a change on the narrative of my life. This is where it gets spicy. Anyway, when I was in Rwanda, this is my life story. So I had my son and I was still in college. My firstborn son was born when I was in college, and I was 22 at that time. And I'm not going to get into the spicy, itty bitty, tiny details of my relationship, but I didn't have a good relationship with his dad. And that also kind of impacted how I was going to deal with relationships afterwards. Because when I had my son, my number one priority was my son, and my love life. I felt like, judging from how I grew up, my daddy issues, and all that, I feel like I'm not well equipped to be in a relationship, let alone a marriage. So from then I started like being in unserious relationships. And it wasn't that I fell into unserious relationships. I decided to not commit to anybody. So it was more on of friends with benefits kind of relationships. And I would meet one guy and then another and then another. And at a certain point, I started to realize that that wasn't me. Like I wanted to be more than that. Like well, I wouldn't say dating. You are with people, because I don't want to use big words for reasons of, I don't want my podcast being marked plus 18 or something like that. So I'll just say I'm with a guy. And long term, I know we please each other different ways, but there is also the hopeless romantic in me. Like, I want to go on dates. I want to go, yeah, I want to get flowers. I want to be able to share my life with this person. I want to bond, but I also know that in this moment, this person is not the one that I want to bond with. And being in that situation, that person, situationship with that person, kind of makes me not open up to other opportunities relationship wise that are out there. But at a certain point, when you've been with many people, and we all know that Kigali is a tiny tiny place, you realize that you've exhausted the supply. Like, everybody knows everybody, everybody has been with everybody, and at a certain point you kind of start to develop a reputation. Like, people know you a certain way, and you realize that that is can be that damaging to a relationship, because I don't want to be with the person that I love, that I truly love, I'm in love with, and I start hearing stories like, hey, you're with her, I know her like that, I've been with her like that. And I feel like for me to change my life and to change my narrative and my story, I needed to be in a new place where nobody knew me and I can have a fresh start. What fears did I have when I left? For me, it wasn't more about like, it's the unknown, and I'm not going to survive or whatever. I know I've always survived. I've always went out there and put myself into situations that challenged me, that were not what I'm used to, and I've always managed to get out the other way alive. So I knew that was going to be okay, but I had one issue. When I came to France, I came on a student visa. So of course I wasn't with my son. You can't, I know it's hard. It's nearly impossible to move abroad with your children on a student visa, like, and I knew that, the longer I stay there, the harder it will be to reconnect me and him, for me and him to reconnect. So I moved abroad, and I stayed in touch, like we would do video calls and whatever, but I could see our relationship vanishing. Like, well, the people that he's staying with, from he's a child, he was 3, he's calling them mom and everything. And of course, I'm not going to tell, like, don't call that person your mom. He's not your mom. I want him to feel safe, and I want him to feel loved. So if that person is the one who's acting like the mom in that moment, I'm grateful for them, and I'm not going to tell him, don't say this, I am your mom. So, but I was still afraid that I will not be with him. He will not have the same relationship that we had. And for the people who know me, my firstborn son is named Bunny. Bunny is like my rock. Like, I'm obsessed with that child. So for me, I missed him so much. I missed him every day. Like, I had nightmares about it. I had all these kinds of issues from not being with him. But I also was worried that he will end up like me, because I didn't grow up with my parents, and I know that it's impacted so many parts of me. Like, I say daddy issues, I have mommy issues, like I have all kinds of parent issues, and I didn't want that for my son. So what things have I stopped doing ever since I left? Like I said. So, my one of my episodes on in February was about love, and in that episode, I got to share that I am married now. I'm a happy wife to a happy husband, and that kind of says a lot. Like, I stopped being a situationship kind of person. I committed. One of the changes is that now I'm open to commitment, and it's something that I've always wanted. Actually, marriage is great in so many ways. It got its own challenges, but it's also really, really, really great. What other thing did I stop to do when I came here? I've actually realized that I've stopped. Part of my personality was, I was a party animal. Like, I was somebody who was outgoing. I loved clubbing. I loved being out there. But life in Europe is kind of, I wouldn't say complicated, but my life in itself was not something that allows such a lifestyle. So I am still happy. Like, I have time to go out. I wouldn't say my children are make me be that busy for me to not go out. But then I realized that I'm getting older and there are things that I don't enjoy as much anymore. Like being out there, being in a club, meeting all these random people that kind of suck out my energy, because now I'm introverted, extroverted on the internet, but introverted in real life, and I like it. I like to keep my circle small, and that's one other thing that I would like to talk about. Like, my social life also changed because I used to have a big social life. I used to have a lot of friends. It's actually, I think it's automatic in Rwanda that if you live in Kigali, you will know people. And sometimes us as Rwandans don't know, like, we don't put a difference between friends and acquaintances. Everybody you know is your friend automatically, because you'll find yourself hanging out often, because the places you can hang out are minimum. You don't have that many, so you get to see each other so much that eventually you're like, okay, that person is my friend. So I don't have a big social life anymore. I don't have so many friends, and I like it. I enjoy spending my time with the small group of friends that I have, but also having time for me to do these kind of things where I'm in a room talking to myself, talking all alone in front of a camera and with a microphone. And I also have time for my family and my husband, my children, my cat. And all these things are things that I feel like in Rwanda, yeah, it was me and my son, but I also had, like, I always had to be with other people, friends all the time. And the other thing that changed, actually, not many people know, but some people know. I used to be a vegetarian when I was in Rwanda. I used to only, like, the last year I spent in Rwanda, I spent it as a vegetarian. And it was so easy to do. I actually realized that in Rwanda we had so much food, so much varieties of, so many varieties of vegetables, that for me it didn't feel like I was actually even trying. Our vegetables are tasty and sweet and sugary and all these kind of things that I like, that for me it was easy. But then when I came to France, the my mom, who eats meat too much, she told me, I don't think you're going to keep up with that, because vegetables here are expensive. So I kind of like made a mental note, and for a weekend too, I tried to stay a vegetarian. But of course, like she said they were expensive, but they weren't, the options weren't as many as I had in Rwanda. So I realized that, sorry, for me to stay a vegetarian, I'll have to probably eat the same thing all the time, and it will not be as tasty as the ones in Rwanda. And I'll probably like get skinny, because I remember when I got here, I lost like 3 kilograms, and I left Rwanda weighing 62 kgs, and in a weekend two, I had lost 3 kilograms, so I was weighing 59 kilograms. For a person who's 1 meter 73 centimeters, 1 meter 73, it's really, it's in imbalance, because I was too skinny for my height. And yeah, like right now I eat meat proudly. I still have vegetables, but I'm not a vegetarian anymore. So, next, after reaching France, now I'm going to talk about what habits I've picked up from living in France or living abroad. So, one of the things, like, I'm a big food person. You probably noticed that in all my episodes or my videos on social media, I'm talking about food. Either I'm cooking, either I'm eating. There's all these kind of things that revolve around consuming, energizing. And one of the habits that I picked up from being in Europe is meal prepping. It's not something I would do in Rwanda for various reasons. In Rwanda, electricity, well, I think electricity is expensive here as well. But due to, I don't know how to differentiate it, but we have the mindset that in Rwanda, electricity is very expensive. So many of us tend to not have refrigerators that are working, 24/7. No. Like the people who are lucky enough to actually even own a refrigerator, some of them like plug it in at a certain time and then plug it out at a certain time too, to save on energies, to save on electricity. And for me, there is also these reasons that the other reason that I think is the food in Rwanda is fresh and it's accessible. It's anywhere. Like from every street, you can notice that there is a boutique where you can buy. We don't call them alimentation because that's a huge establishment. For us, we call them boutique. It's going to sound funny to people who speak French, but yeah. In our boutiques, we'll have all sorts of vegetables, all sorts of food, and they are, let's say, 50 meters from your home. So you always have access to cheap food. And that makes you not need to have a refrigerator in your home. You go there, you buy what you need to cook for the day, you cook it, and that's it. You don't need to store anything. Like the boutique itself is the one that has a refrigerator for the drinks, for your soft drinks to keep them fresh for you. But for you, you don't really necessarily need the fridge unless you have a certain lifestyle that is close to European or American. So for me, I started meal prepping when I got here. So I cook twice a month and I freeze the food, the sauces that I cooked for my family to consume throughout the 2 weeks of the prepping. And it kind of helps me save time because I would probably spend an hour cooking every day for my family, and that is way more than the 3 hours I spend meal prepping. Because when I meal prep, I spend 3 hours making all these sauces. Like I have a 4 stove, so I have 4 saucepans that are, doing the magic. And it happens all in one time, and then I freeze the food, and that's over for 3 hours. But imagine if I cooked an hour every day, because it's not going to take less than an hour. So it's hour minimum, and I'm going to probably spend 30 hours cooking every month, and I don't have the luxury for that. Like I'd rather spend my time doing other things than spending it cooking every day. And also the other thing that I kind of picked up because of living abroad, it's not since living abroad, it's actually because of living abroad, I started cutting my hair. As you can see, I have short hair and it's not a choice. In Rwanda, I feel like hair care is free. Why? Because it's accessible at the same time. You have people who have the same type of hair everywhere. Where I used to live when I came to France, there was a huge black community. So I had somebody who can braid my hair and who can take care of my hair for me. I am really good at so many things, but I'm not good at hair care. Like I cannot braid myself. I cannot do nothing on my head. I kind of have reflexes that don't do well when I'm looking in the mirror. It's another story for another day. And then I moved to my husband's when I got married, and the neighborhood, or I would say the city that we live in, I only see, when I see a black person, I am excited. When I see another black person, I'm like, hello, how are you? Because there are not so many, and that means that the salons that are going to be able to take care of African hair are not that many as well. So I realized that either I'm going to try to fight to keep my hair, which is 4C. It's like the worst type of hair. I wouldn't say worst, but it's the hardest type of hair to take care of, or I'm just going to give up. And even like I cut my hair myself because I wouldn't trust a person who's never dealt with my hair to cut it for me. So I started like taking my husband's shaving, I don't know how they call it, tondeuse, and I cut my hair for me. And I feel like if I was in Rwanda, that's not something I would do because I would always go to the salon, to the hair salon for a wash, for braids, for like any hairstyles that I want. Moving on, I would like to also talk about the things that I miss in Rwanda. So yes, I would like to start with my family. I miss my family, even if we're not a close knitted family. Like I don't hang out with my aunts or my uncles as much. I have a very bad relationship with my father's side of the family and whatever. But I have my cousins, and me and my cousins are very tight. We adore each other. We help each other grow. I feel like we are in around the same age range, that we kind of like look up to each other on like what moves to make, what is better to invest in, how are you growing, how should I grow. And I miss them, to hang out with them and to feel like, yeah, I'm with my family. I also miss my friends. This the, the huge amount of friends I have in Rwanda. I love my life here. I'm not complaining, but I also miss the life that I had with them at the same time, because there was no room for loneliness. Europe has this thing where you can easily feel lonely, especially when it's winter and it's gray and people don't want to get out of their house. If you don't have like close relationship, like close, strong relationships where you're like, hey, drop by, let's hang out in this cold weather, you find yourself being alone. Luckily, I have a big family and I have a husband that I love and like at the same time. So I tend to use the depression time, which I can call them depression time, because so many people are depressed around that time, to bond more with my husband and with my kids, and feel at home and feel like comfy and cushy. So yeah, but I still do miss my friends, because in Rwanda we don't really have winter, so it was party every day. Party from Monday to Sunday, from January to December, and you miss it, but do you really want to go back to it? I don't know. I miss the food, I miss the weather and everything that I just said, and I miss the feeling of being at home. Even if I have a home here, I have an address that is written to me, I have a rent agreement that is signed in my name, the feeling of being at home in France hasn't kicked in yet. Because the moment I get out of my house, there's probably a white person that is going to look at me not nicely. There are some that are going to go to the extreme and even say, "Go back where you came from." So I would say that, yeah, because I'm married to a French guy and I have my children are French, eventually I'm going to become French. But I don't think France will be like, okay, you are French. It's like, yes, I got your nationality and all that, but I don't feel like deep down in everyone's heart, they look at me naturally like you're a French person. Shocker, because I'm a black woman, and there's nothing I can change about that, but I've realized that I've become more aware of my blackness ever since I came to France. Before, I was a human being. Like, I don't remember, like, in the description of something that happened somewhere, people going, it's a black or a white person who did this and that. I imagine that it happens to white people that are in Rwanda, but for me, I wasn't aware. Like, oh, okay, I'm black. Every day I wake up and I'm reminded, black queen, na na na. But ever since I got to France, now because of the fact that there are other people who don't look like me, part of what describes me, the first thing is going to be black, then a woman, and then the length and the hair color, na 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 na. Everything is going to come after she's black. And I also miss, I probably mentioned this in the previous episodes, I also miss so much the privilege of having a housekeeper. Good, 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 good. So everything that I need, I have to do for myself. I'm not that rich. Like people here who have housekeepers are very rich people. It's like the money they make, very few people in Rwanda make it. So here you might be okay, you might be easy as they call it, you might have cars, buildings, you have houses and whatever, but you'll still not afford to have somebody come clean for you, cook for you, whatever. I think if you have somebody who works 24/7 in your home, you'll have to pay them around 6K or 8K per month for all the hours that they spent in your house. And trust me, even if I say just come for 2 3 hours per day and do this, I'm not at the level where I say I can afford it. Like the person that I would employ would earn as much as me. So I basically go outside to work, bring my money, give it to the other person to take care of, say, my child when I'm not there. And that is not something you would do in your right mind. So you find that so many people choose to stay at home and take care of their own children because it's very expensive to get somebody else to take care of them for you. And of course, there are so many establishments out there to help, like creche, daycare, and there are nannies that you can pay by the hour and all that. But it's still very expensive compared to what it costs us to get house help in Rwanda. So what don't I miss? Because I've talked about so many things that I miss, but obviously, like I always say, we live for a reason. I don't miss the way Rwandans were with me. This is the part where I asked in the beginning, like, don't cancel me, please, because yeah, I feel like in Rwanda, I have a personality. Like growing up, I was a tomboy. Actually, I dressed like a tomboy, and my personality was always judged to not be Rwandan. So that feeling of not being at home, I kind of felt it even when I was at home. Like people would repeat so often to me, like, like I know you look like somebody who will go abroad. You look like somebody who's going to live abroad, who's going to marry a foreigner. And I suppose they were right on so many things, but I feel like I ended up how I ended up because of these things that were repeated to me so often that I ended up internalizing them. That I feel like, okay, you cannot be bubbly, creative, and all that. Rwanda is too small for you. You need to go beyond Rwanda. And you cannot be an independent, strong willed woman and be able to marry a Rwandan man. Even if for me, I didn't really have a type. And I didn't have a race type at all. Like whether you're white or black or whatever, like I didn't care about that. But they always also mention that the person that can understand you has to not be Rwandan because Rwandans have a way of thinking and that kind of that is a mentality that I do not miss. I don't miss mosquitoes. ah, so last year I went to Kigali, and is it last year? I'm not really sure, but I feel like the moment like everything else was okay, the progress around the infrastructure, everything you get to see online. So I kind of know what kind of buildings are new in Rwanda. I know which streets have been changed because people post about these things. But the thing that made me feel like, yeah, I'm home, is the first night where I slept and I had to put on a mosquito net. And even then, I could still hear them buzzing around me, like, zzz, and I'm like, oh my God. So every time you forget to put on the mosquito net or to plug in the repellent, you're going to wake up and your skin is going to be itchy because the mosquitoes have been having a feast. And it's not, I don't know, not trying to offend anybody still, but we don't have mosquitoes here. I don't like put on a mosquito net before sleeping, or I don't. We do have I've seen a mosquito once and it was really huge, like this size. While Rwandan mosquitoes are this big, but the damage that they can cause. The big size mosquitoes in France, I think they have another name for them. They don't even bite, so they're fat, useless, I guess. I don't know what's their purpose in life, really. But yeah, I don't miss the mosquitoes. And I don't also miss the transportation system in Rwanda. I don't have a car personally. Like, I'm a big family person who doesn't have a car. It's hard on its own, but it's not that difficult as it would be for me to not have a car in Rwanda. I'm happy and glad that I did this again. And I don't know, maybe it's not a great listen, but it was kind of something that I thought that I would share with you, like my journey from coming to Rwanda to being your France, what changed on me, on my life, what changed on me, about me, what changes have happened to me, to my personality. And of course, I did not share everything because time, I don't want to bore you. But yeah, like we live for a reason, and hopefully, we hope that things are going to be better eventually. And yeah, keep up for the next episode. Toodles.